Howdy y'all, this is Redwolf. I been out doing some kind of survival training and doing some stuff for my living history hobby. And I've been looking at natural cordage and some stuff like that, some options. I will tell you that one thing I have successfully done so far today, is figure out every kind of tree that fire ants like to nest in for the winter. But that said, I want to talk to y'all about a very important plant down in the swamp parts of the eastern woodlands, and that is a bald cypress. Now this very distinctly colored, really smooth wood right here is a branch that fell off of one. The trees themselves look like this big boy right here. Now, one of the distinguishing features of it are these really sharp looking leaves that turn red when they fall and dry. These right here on their own are one of the most super useful things. If you can find these, you can usually, like in this tree right here, this little brushy stuff, depending upon how bad the weather's been, I can see some down right there. You can see some little bits of those leaves hanging out right there. It is one of the few places in this kind of swampy terrain where you will find air-dried tinder that has also been up in the sun where it can dry out. It's got, I think, a little bit of resin in it, just a little, that really helps it spark off. If you can collect a good tinder nest of that stuff, it goes. I will do that at some point. But one of the other things I wanted to show you about these trees, they tend to be big, they tend to be near water, and they also tend to shed a lot. They're sort of self-pruning, but all these limbs out here are ones that the tree right here has lost in the high wind. Can we get a partner on camera? There's the partner right there. Alright, so the part I wanted to show you, this particular branch right here fell and got caught up on another limb. And a lot of times you can see these. I'll try and show you one in a minute where the squirrels have been stripping it, and it makes it look, they look red at a distance. It gets in the undercoat. But this stuff right here has this bits of bark. And if you can get these and peel them off, it works a lot like cypress does, or cedar does, and a lot of other locations. You get a nice bark. Here we go. Just got to keep fiddling until you get one that wants to come off. So you get these big strips if you're lucky. And you take these, get over here on me again. Take these. This outer layer is garbage. But you can take this and break it like that. I don't even have to go all the way to the edge. I come here to the middle. And this stuff right here will start peeling out. Alright, so back on point here. This top bark starts stripping off. And it has these kind of layers like this. You can crunch them up and they just flake off. But it'll get to this big part where the bigger sheet will just strip out if you're lucky. Now there are some tribes that take this bark or the cedar type stuff up the northwest, and they'll turn this all the way into cord and keep thinning it and doing it and whatnot. They'll make cloth out of this. This is the exact same stuff you're going to use here for your bird's nest. Now, you could probably process this down a little bit more. I don't really care to at the moment. I don't think it's going to be necessary. So, get in here, peel your fibers down. It'll keep going. But this stuff right here on its own is usually enough. You just keep twisting and twisting, and it'll just twist. Eventually it'll come back around and we can start real quick and dirty reverse wrapping. Now I twist away, pinch, and pull up. Push away, pinch, pull up. And I get real quick, consistent cordage with no more processing than that. Now, the more you go down, the more you do, you can get desired exact thicknesses and whatnot. But this stuff right here, strips about this big. Better one is probably around the same size as your index finger here. If you get pieces that big, that should be thick enough to make a bow drill fire with. It has a lot of toughness to it. Now this is just a little piece of garbage, so I'm not expecting a lot. But it has that momentary resistance to it before it pops. That's something I look for. It's very hard to find this kind of stuff in my area. You get these nice bigger chunks and you can make some reasonable cordage with it, enough to actually be practical to use. I've got several sheets of this about a hand wide off. That's part of the reason why this one's stripped off the way it is, that I've got back at my house. And this stuff, you can take it if it's too wet, don't have time, you can take it and fold it up into a nice little bundle. You can put that out somewhere to dry. You can put it in a pack, put it in a pocket, carry it with you. Same stuff here. If you get it, kind of fold it up a little bit, start twisting. You can probably see that smoke coming off. That smoke is dirt and the unburnable parts. Unburnable, unburnable? Oh, have to get into an English versus Latin versus Greek discussion there. But you see, you start getting your real fine shreds real quick. That's something that you look for in a lot of tools. It's a decent indication in my area, at least, that you might could have made cordage out of it before you shredded it all up. But importantly, you know, this is your bird's nest right here. Keep burning that down. If you got a lot of the good dry tinder, I'll make a thing in a minute with this. Collect some more of it up. But if you've got something like a bick, a match, that's probably all you need right there to start making a fire, if you've got something good to work with. If not, here's a strip of bark as long as my arm. I just heard this thing beep. I don't know if that means it's going on to another video or what. Here's a piece the size of my arm. And for talking purposes, I don't know everything. Oh, I've never really measured. I just kind of do it till I know I've got as much as I need. But it's pretty simple, man. A lot of the survival stuff is just knowing what to grab. I think that's the thing that's really important about getting the training, is not just knowing what to do and what not to do, but getting some experiment stuff so you know what to grab and what not to grab, what aspects go. Well, this wood capable of doing it? Well, no, you just move on to the next one, man. If it doesn't shred out, you can't actually get the bark out of it, what does it matter? And see, once again, for what that's going to be, I've got some idea, even if I keep shredding. So a piece, a thumb wide, as long as my arm, that's a more normal size kind of tinder bundle you get. Gives you some idea what to do. That's pretty tight. I can keep shredding this up. I kind of like with live flame instead of sparks, like ferro rod or stuff like that. I will leave some of these bigger chunks in there so it acts, it's kind of that next stage between the super fine fibers. But depending upon how wet it is, how cold, what kind of stuff you're using to try and get off, or how dry what you're trying to light is, all you got to do is just keep pulling it out, tearing it up, and twisting it in smaller and smaller pieces, man. Real quick primitive fire building right there. And all this stuff, you had to, you can still take these fibers and probably still get them twisted up pretty good. It's better to have enough of a source thing here. That whole back side right there still got bark all over it. I could probably, on what's left on that tree alone, I could probably light another dozen fires or so off of it. And I've been told I'm taking some of these bigger chunks with me. So you can make a pretty decent torch out of these. So I'm going to take this over and either in a little bit or sometime this week, I'll try and let that dry out a little bit. I'm going to try making a torch out of these, doing a little torch bundle, doing some stuff. I got some projects kind of on the plan. And like I said, I've already got some of this put up. But it just, when it's right, it just peels right off. It feels super cool to just have it in hand. And even, anyway, but you take this, the leaves of these and stuff like that, the limbs, a lot of insects seem to not like to spend a lot of time around them. So they're cushy, and you can kind of insulate your camp a little bit with them pretty easily. They're one of the most rot resistant trees in the swamp. So if you're going to be in a wet area with a lean-to, or you need to plant post or something like that, it is a solid go-to resource. The old growth from 150 years ago was apparently even more rot resistant, but woe is us, we can't go back 150 years to get it. So it's just a pretty good plant. You get it right here. It burns pretty good. It's a little resinous, so not like your go-to fire. If I was going to cook on it, I'd probably try and get it more toward coals and then do it like that. Or good old bark dust. It's good for heat, not for cooking. I wouldn't smoke on it, is what I'm trying to say. I might start my fire with it, and then I'd put a bigger oak or one of the other hardwood species on top of there. Other stuff you can do with that. I bet you could do even more ants. Ants everywhere out here today. But I've also seen people do this, kind of making the cigars. What they call them. You can make bigger versions. But you can kind of wrap a couple of different finenesses. Tinder, loose work, knot work. And I've seen them carry sparks like this for at least a little distance. Or to make, like, I suppose, a really nice bird nest kind of deal. If this right here cannot get your fire lit, you're going to need something like gasoline and a road flare to get it lit. This is pretty go-to for the area. But that's enough babbling for right now. I been out here playing with this. I'm going to keep working on it, find some more stuff, see what all kinds of tricks we can come up with. I hope some of y'all at least found this a little bit informative. If you got some tricks or anything for me, let me know. If you got anything you want to see, or I suppose if you think I'm a total dumbass, I'll catch you in the comments. Y'all keep up the good fight. Alright, howdy y'all. You gonna get this here. Let me get my camera situated right. There's my battery pack. So I remembered a little bit after I got everything situated, got playing with the bark a little bit too much. I was going to show y'all some of the leaves and sort of what to look for. So this right here, make sure I can see. Okay, so this right here, everything looks different on camera, is one of the limbs that you get. And you get all these specific little things right here. And one of the cool things about it, I can get it held up in here, is that it tends to just fall off. That's a good sign that it's dry enough to do some stuff. When it's been underwater, so it kind of takes on this more brownish hue, then a more red color. I don't see anything really fresh enough to be worth talking about it with that. The other thing I told y'all, that you'll see the tree, it takes on this kind of a reddish look to it. What happens is a lot of the squirrels and stuff will come in here and they'll peel the outer layer of the bark off, and they'll use that to make their drays. And you can still come in here even on the live tree and pull some of these fibers off. You're not doing the tree just a whole terrible lot of good if you come in here and peel the bark off, but this right here ain't going to be enough to hurt it. But this stuff in and of itself is pretty flammable. You know, in a survival situation, I take something like my Bowie knife, and I could come through here and peel a bunch of this off, especially this that's been kind of exposed where the squirrel's been chewing on it and getting a lot. Whoop. And the limbs kind of have this signature Look, you'll see a lot of knots, but it has all this flaky kind of outer bark off of it. There'll usually be a lot of it in one area when you see it. It's one of my go-to trees. There's probably enough here. If this was a real emergency, I could probably make a debris hut or a small lean-to just off of what got knocked off right here. Now naturally I'm gonna drag it that way and get up out of this this zone, but they are a really big tree. And you also have to watch out for widowmakers. You can see all the broken stuff where all this stuff on the ground came from. But I reckon that'd do it for now. Hope that was, like I said earlier, informative, and let me know if you got anything to say in the comments. Keep it up.